Imagine this. A solitary figure, a man, trudging through the snow-covered streets, under the cloak of darkness. The world around him is hushed, the only sound being the crunch of his boots pressing into the icy blanket beneath him. Each step he takes sends a fresh wave of chill up his spine, his face stinging from the biting cold. The buildings on either side of him are lifeless, their darkened windows reflecting nothing but the bleak winter night. His breath materializes in the air before him, a ghostly reminder of the living warmth within him. But then, a prickling sensation begins to crawl up the back of his neck. He's not alone. There's a presence, a shadow that's mirroring his every step, trailing him. The man's heart starts to race, his breath quickens. Each footfall is now echoed by a soft, crunching sound from behind him. As he quickens his pace, the soft, crunching sound behind him keeps pace. His heart pounds in his chest and a cold sweat breaks out on his brow. He dares not look back, the fear of what he might see paralyzes him. His heart pounding in his chest, a deafening drum in the silence of the night, each beat a stark reminder of his own vulnerability. The man's breath is ragged, heavy, echoing in his ears like a harsh whisper in a silent cathedral. The cold air stings his lungs, a harsh reminder of reality in this surreal nightmare. Every shadow holds menace, each one a potential hiding place for his unseen pursuer. Every noise is magnified, the crunch of snow under his boots, the rustle of the wind through bare trees, the distant hoot of an owl, all conspiring to heighten his sense of dread. The world around him is transformed. Once benign, the night now teems with imagined horrors, an unseen pursuer lurking just beyond his line of sight. His mind races, thoughts tumbling over one another in a desperate attempt to rationalize the irrational. But there's no denying the feeling of being watched, of being hunted. It's a primal fear, one that sends chills down his spine and sets his nerves on edge. In his desperation, he tries to lose his pursuer. He darts down alleyways, cuts across fields, plunges into the depths of the forest, each step leaving a trail in the virgin snow. But it's in vain. The feeling of being pursued persists, a relentless tormentor that feeds on his escalating terror. He can feel the presence growing stronger, closer, as if his fear is a beacon drawing the pursuer ever nearer. His heart pounds harder, his breath comes quicker, his legs grow weaker. The fear is suffocating, a shroud of terror that cloaks him in its icy grip. Each moment stretches into an eternity, every second a battle between his will to survive and the crushing weight of his fear. His breath fogs up in the freezing night air as he runs, his footsteps echoing ominously in the desolate streets. His terror is his only companion in this chilling dance with the unseen. Finally, gathering every ounce of courage, he stops and turns around to confront his follower. The moment hangs heavy in the cold winter air, a tangible tension that clings to every snowflake falling around him. His heart pounds in his chest like an ominous drum, echoing the dread coursing through his veins. His breath comes out in ragged gasps, visible in the frigid air, as he prepares for the worst. The snow crunches under his boots as he pivots, the world seeming to slow down around him. The street before him is bathed in an eerie glow from the solitary streetlight, casting long, haunting shadows that dance and twist in the wind. His eyes dart around, searching, expecting to meet the gaze of some unspeakable horror lurking in the darkness. But there's nothing. Nothing but the empty, snow-covered street stretching out before him. The realization hits him like a punch to the gut. There was no one there. There never was. His mind reels as he tries to comprehend what's happening. His follower, the source of his terror, was nothing more than his own footsteps echoing back at him. His own fear, amplified by the silence and isolation, had transformed the ordinary into the terrifying. His dread had conjured up a phantom, a specter that existed only in his mind, a chilling testament to the power of fear and imagination. He stands there, in the middle of the deserted street, the biting wind whipping around him. His heart rate begins to slow, the drumbeat of fear subsiding to a dull throb. His breath, once ragged and forced, now comes easier, each exhale forming a plume of mist in the frosty air. In the silent, snow-covered street, the man stands alone, the echoes of his own fear fading into the night. The real horror, it seems, was within him all along. So, what do we take away from our chilling tale? A man, a snowy street, and an unseen pursuer that was nothing more than his own fear, casting a chilling shadow. This story serves as a stark reminder of how our own anxieties can often manifest as the most terrifying entities. It's not the creatures lurking in the dark we should fear, but the monsters we conjure in our minds. Remember, sometimes the monsters we fear the most are the ones we create in our minds. Sweet dreams, dear listeners, till our next eerie encounter.